Okay, welcome back, kiddos. We have made it to the last lesson of the year, so let's make it happen. This is a short one, and then I know you got this just as easily. All right, so we're going to talk about surface areas of prisms and cylinders. So these are prisms. You've studied those before. A square prism and a cube is a type of prism, and then a cylinder. Okay, so let's briefly talk about those, and then let's get into taking the surface area. All right, so we're going to talk about first what's a 3D figure. Okay, a 3D figure is also called a solid. Okay, and so a 3D figure is bound by flat or curved surfaces that enclose a single region of space. Okay, so they're enclosed by flat or curved surfaces, right? That enclose a single region of space, right? Okay, and so a polyhedron is a solid, right? Which we said is a 3D figure bounded by polygons called bases. So bounded by means enclosed by. Okay, so these things are called bases that are on the top and bottom. All right, so let's get right into some practice on this. All right, so let's talk about these first. So first we're going to talk about a prism. Okay, so on a prism, it has it has bases, right, that are that top, right, and this bottom. Okay, those are called bases. Okay, so the top and bottom both called bases, and the bases are congruent. All right, and we mean that means they're the same shape, right? So the same shape on top and bottom. Okay, so then what's the difference between a square prism and a cube? Well, a cube, the difference between that, and you might tell this one doesn't have all the sides the same. A cube has all side lengths are equal. Okay, so on this one, we would say that top, right, and this bottom, those are the bases still. Okay, and those are going to be congruent. Okay, so on the congruent, the area of the base, right, if it's a rectangle, is always going to be length times width. Okay, when length times width is always going to give the area of the base. Okay, so we said on a prism, that's what we're going to do. Okay, that's how we're going to find the area. All right, so then on a cylinder, I know you practice a cylinder. So a cylinder looks like this. So these are some things about a cylinder. It has a flat base and a flat top, right? So this is the base, right? And this is the top, right? But either one are called bases because they're both the same. So the base, because as I just mentioned, the base is the same as the top, right? They're both are, and we would say that is congruent, right? Congruent means same shape, same size, right? Excuse me. From base to the top, the shape stays the same, right? So this keeps the same width from front top to bottom, right? The circle's the same. It has one curved side. All right, so that's a cylinder, right? So then we have a square prism, right? Which the base, this could also be called bases, have square, and then a cube means all the sides are the same. All right, so keeping that in mind, that's all we need to know. Let's get right into some practice on finding the surface area. Okay, so first off, what is surface area? Right, so surface area means the area on the outside surface. Okay, area on the outside surface, right? So on the outside, like what we would paint. Okay, so on a prism, let's start with that first. So we can say that's the length, right? That would be the width, and then we have the height. Okay, so keep that in mind. Here's how we find the surface area of a rectangular prism, right? We talked about how to find the area of a rectangle. So here's the steps we're going to do. There's 6 sides. What we're going to do is we're going to first find the area of top and bottom. Okay, so the area of the top and bottom. Okay. Second, we're going to find the area of the front and back. Okay. And then the third, we're going to find the area of the left and right. Okay. And then once we find all those, we are just going to add them up. Okay. So keeping that in mind, let's get started with the first one, right? First step, we said the area of the top and bottom, right? So top and bottom are rectangles, right? We said the area is found by length times width, right? So since there's two of them, right? There's one and two. Here's a critical thing. We have to say two, right? We don't want to forget about that. That two times, right? We said length times width. So 6 times 2, right? 6 and 2. So 6 times 2, right? So if we put that in the calculator, we can think also 6 times 2 is 12, right? Times 2 is 24. Okay, so otherwise we can put it in the calculator. Next, we're going to find the area of the front and back. So we know the front and back, we're going to have two that are the same, right? 2 times. So front and back is going to be 6 times 5, right? Because this is going to be 5. So 6 times 5. So 6 times 5, right? So we can put that on our calculator, or we can think 6 times 5 is 30, right? 2 times 30, or double 30, is 60. Right? Okay, then the third one. Third one, we said to find the area of the left and right. Okay, so we do top and bottom first, front and back, and then left and right. Okay, so we know that we have two of them, right? They're both going to be the same. Okay, so we said that's going to be 2 times 5, right? That times 5 gives us that red one. All right, so 2 times 5. So we can put that in a calculator, or we can think 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 10 is 20. Right? And then the fourth step, we said we're going to add them. Okay, so let's just add them real quick, right? So we could type that all into our calculator if we wanted to, right? But we can also do the math. Let's start with the numbers column, the ones column. So 4 plus 0 gives us 4. Okay, and then we have 2 plus 6 is 8, plus 2 more is 10, right? So that's our answer, 104. And then the units are meters, miles, and squared. So we would say miles squared. So that's the way we can do that. Okay, so that's how we do it, right? We're just going to think of the area of each of the sides, and we have 6 of them, and then we're going to add them all up. So this is a critical thing, is that we can't forget that we have to multiply each of those times 2. Okay, so let's keep it moving. Now we just have our last one. We're going to talk about a radius, all right? So the radius, we're going to say this is the height, right? And remember, the radius goes from the center to the outside, right? So that's what that radius is. We can see it right over there, right? It starts at the center, and then it goes to the outside, right? So we're going to think on this. The area of a circle, remember from last class, the area of a circle is going to be pi r squared. Okay, so that's what we're going to use on this one. Okay, so let's get right into some practice. Okay, so it says, what's the surface area of a cylinder, okay, with a height of 6 meters and a radius of 4. Now we're going to round the answer. Here's we got to remember that, round to the nearest thousand. Okay, so the thousandth means 3 decimal places. So that means we're going to use 4, then round. 4 places, then round. Okay, so keeping that in mind, let's get into this practice. All right, so here's the sequence on this one. It's real similar. First, we're going to find the area of top and bottom. Okay, and as we know, we said this area is going to be the same as that, right? And then we're going to, second, we're going to find the area of the side. Okay, and then 3, we're just going to add them up. Okay, so very similar, except for we just have top and bottom and the sides, all right? So keeping that in mind, let's go with the first one, right? So we said the area is going to be, we said the area is pi r squared for a circle, right? So let's keep that in mind. So we said it's going to be 2 of those, right? So we don't want to forget that. It's 2 times pi times, let's see, do we know the radius? The radius is 4, right? 4 squared. Okay, so if we put that into our calculator, 2 times pi times 4 squared. If we type it in just like that, it's going to give us 100 point. And we said since we're going to round to the nearest thousands was 3, we're going to use 4 places and then round, right? So that's what we do. We're going to use one more than what we need, and then we're going to round it. So we're going to say 5309. We're going to round at the end, right? So 100.5309. All right, next, step number 2, we're going to find the area of the sides, right? So the area of the sides is going to be, here's how we find this out. The area of the sides is going to be 2 pi r h. 2 pi r h. All right, so let's do that. So we're going to say 2 times pi, and then we have to the radius. The radius is going to be 4, right? 2 pi 4, and then times the height, right? So we said the height on this one is 6, so that's where that 6 comes in. Okay, so we're going to type that into our calculator. We can type it in just like that: 2 times pi times 4 times 6, right? So that's a times, right? Not point, right? So we're going to remember that's a times 6. Okay, so if we put that into our calculator, we're going to get 150.7964. Okay, and then so step number 3 says we just add those together. Okay, so if we're going to do that, we're going to say, we can type this into our calculator, but we can also do this by hand, right? So 9 and the 4 gives us 13, right? We're going to carry the 1, right? Then the 1 plus the 0 plus the 6 gives us a 7, right? So then the next column, 3 plus 9 gives us 12, right? Then we carry the 1, right? So then 1 plus 5 is 6, plus 7 is 13, right? So we're going to put the 3, and then we're going to carry the 1 right over there, right? So if we do that, then we have 1 plus 0 gives us 1. 0 plus 5 gives us 5. And then 1 plus 1 gives us 2. Okay, so now our final step is we are going to round. Okay, so if we do that, we said the 100th place is going to be 3 decimal places. So let's underline the 3rd place, right? And then we're going to look at the right door neighbor. 3 tells us to bring down the 7, right? And then the 2, 3.152. And that's going to be meters, right? This is meters and squared. When we're talking about area, we're talking about squares. So that's the answer on that one. Okay, so I know you have this. It's very straightforward. Okay, so on a rectangular prism, we're just going to find the area of all the sides and then add them up. Okay, and then on this one, since we're rounding to the thousandth, we're going to, which we know is 3 decimal places, we're going to write down 4 and then round at the end. That's a crucial thing, is round at the end. So we're going to find the area, the bases, right, and we're multiply it times 2. So 2 times pi r squared, like we talked about last class, and then the side, which is 2 pi r h. Okay, so I know you have this. If you have any questions, just let me know, and make sure we get all this practice done next time we have our test.